somewhere above 3 to 3.5 million annually now, and started this a year ago. And this year we will hit 7.5 to 8.
Jon, great to have you on the pod.
Thanks so much. Happy to be here, Jimmy.
Thank you again for jumping on. As I saw recently, I really enjoyed your episode on the Corner Office podcast, and so you're gracious enough to jump on with me, share a bit of your journey, your story, and what you're building with your own AI business. But yeah, for the benefit of the audience, would you mind sharing who you are, what you do, and what they can expect off the back of the end of the podcast?
Sure. Yeah. Honestly, what I really want is for people, I'm going to start with your last question first. What do I want people to get out of this? I really just want people to be aware of what's happening. I want people to be not only aware of what's happening, but what's possible and how they can take advantage of it. These technology, this is not the first time this has happened, right? The internet came out and it changed the world. Computers came out, they changed the world. Cars came out, they changed the world, right? Planes came out, they changed the world. And this is not the last one either, right? Now, I will say this. I do believe that the AI revolution that's happening right now, this big tsunami of capability, is more violent and significant than any other technological improvement or revolution that we've ever seen. So it is bigger. It's something to pay attention to, but all the more reason to make sure that you put yourself in a position to win, right? And really the way to win, and I know this might sound a little simple, but is to know more than your neighbor, right? And then to do something about it, right? If you know more than those around you, whether that neighbor is physically your neighbor at home or sitting next to you at work, if you know more, when things start to adjust and move, you're going to be able to say, hey, I know how to do that, right? And your boss, your coworkers, your employees, whoever it is, right, is going to look to you for answers, right? They're going to say, oh, this guy knows something, right? And so hopefully by the time you're done listening to this podcast today, you have a desire to go listen to more podcasts, to actually get on some of these platforms and programs and things I might mention and make it happen. But my background is to now answer the first part of the question. Who am I? I'm Jon Cheney, founder and CEO of the General AI Proficiency Institute. I founded this institute to help people really from an I really take a business approach. There's lots of, it's education, there's all kinds of different things you can look at, government, whatever. I really focus on how can employees and businesses use AI to get more out of life, right? And I don't just mean make more money or create more automations, but get more out of life, right? How can your business maybe run itself a little bit more so that you can go kayaking, or go mountain biking or, play the piano more, whatever it is you want to do, go do those things and live life a little bit more. Because I believe that AI, when used properly, can enable us to do all of those things, make more money and have more time to do the things that we want. I will say, and we can talk about this more in depth later, I will say that I don't believe that some of the proposals that have been put out there around things like universal basic income and, hey, the government will just take care of you, the AI is going to be able to do everything. And, I don't think those solutions will work. I don't think they can work. I think they cause hyperinflation at a global scale, amongst other problems. But the reality is, you're in charge of your future. And I'm a big proponent, always have been a big proponent of, take responsibility and go and find opportunity. I've started several companies throughout my lifetime, a pretty big one back in 2016. I raised $13 million for and went and, had some of the biggest companies in the world as my customers, Google and Meta and Lego and Nestle and lots in between, Walmart, Costco. Anyway, I've been out there and kind of built companies without AI. And now that AI is here, we're on a whole new world. And so that's what I'm here to talk about today.
Amazing, Jon. Appreciate that. And it's very, very interesting, right? In terms of where are things gonna land? But as you said, it's sort of not taking a back seat, not expecting the government to sort of take care of you, and actually you're in control over how you can benefit from AI. So with someone coming into this, with very little knowledge about it, what would you recommend being the sort of first steps to get up to speed with everything?
So pick a platform and dive in. Just start using it, start playing with it. Here's what I love to do. I love to just say, I wonder if I can do this. I wonder if AI can answer this or help me figure out this problem. Like, I live on a farm. We were talking about that just a little bit as we were kind of getting started here. I'm not a farmer. There's a lot of things I don't know how to do. I bought this place a few years ago and the person before knew a lot more about a lot of systems. And so, I've had like irrigation pumps and we've got like a 500-gallon, natural gas tank under, and we've got, different systems and all these things. I just don't know how to do it. Right. And so I'm just like, okay, my irrigation pump went out last summer, and I said, okay, ChatGPT, help me out here, right? I wonder if you could help me walk through this. Instead of me having to call someone, pay him $800 to come out and replace it and fix it, I was able to instead, spend $250, buy a new pump. It turned out the pump was bad. And then I was able to, disconnect everything safely and reconnect it all together and do it all and figure it out. And I did it, right? Something that I normally wouldn't have done, right, in the past, but because I had AI. Now, there's obviously things like YouTube and Google and other things, but I was able to get specific advice down to the model, down to the instruction manual that AI was able to very easily look up instantly and then tell me, all right, for this model, this is what you're going to do. You're going to do this. Make sure you watch out for this. And here's some tips. And, AI is just so much more capable at guiding you through anything. And that's a physical example. If you talk to more, digital, sitting at your desk, right? Hey, I wonder if I can build a game, make it fun. Right. I wonder if I could, build a to-do list or a to-do app for my family or a calendar thing for my family that, we use just in, we don't have to go sell this as a company, but I wonder if I have this problem. I wonder if I can create a solution and then go do it. And so that's really the answer. There's lots of platforms out there. I would start with the basics. If you're not using ChatGPT, get in there, or Claude or Grok or whatever, basic one you want. If you want to get into software building, I'll say this, try Replit. Replit's my favorite. I think they are the most complete. I think they're the easiest to get started with. Another one is Lovable. I think Lovable's okay. I don't think it's as powerful as Replit, especially as you build bigger things. But both of them are very easy to jump in and just say, okay, I wonder if I can build this. And probably like 4 hours later, because you're going to get addicted, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, this is cool. In about 10 minutes, you'll have something that works, kind of. It'll look like it works. And then you got to really start to dive in and like fix all the edges and make it, polished up a little bit. But by the end, you're like, man, I built something and I'm not even a developer. And I'm not a developer, by the way, guys. For anyone listening, I am just an average guy that is curious, right? So be curious, go out and try it. That is the best way to learn. You can watch, so I'm a whitewater kayaker. That's something I love to do. You can follow Red Bull channels and you can watch Dane Jackson and the best kayakers in the world go off waterfalls, and it's cool. But if you want to learn how to kayak, go get in a boat on a river. This is the only way you're going to learn.
Mm-hmm. Dive straight in. Love it. And when it comes to getting familiar, so you choose a platform, be curious. What would you say is the big opportunity here, right? I'm very interested in the fact that you built a significant business in the past, I guess pre-AI. How are you approaching the build out of your business now with AI? Obviously, your focus is around servicing with AI, but yeah, how are you approaching it differently this time around?
Well, a big one is I don't have any developers. I built the whole thing myself, right? And I have tons of software. I have dashboards. We deliver software and all kinds of stuff for our clients. And we deliver through all kinds of things that used to require really expensive developers. And I just don't have that anymore. I don't have that expense anymore. And that saves me hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, if not millions. I mean, my last business, it was a tech business, right? So it was very developer intensive. More than half of my employees were developers. I always had a very expensive, although very smart CTOs and VPs of engineering and people that are just building things and project managers, and all those layers are gone, right? Now it's like, okay, we've got a customer and they have a need and we build something for them, right? Or you have a project manager that says, I need something that does this, and they just build it, right? And I think that's so cool. For me, and hopefully for those of you that have started to vibe code and jump in and really try this, it's very freeing, right? Like, it's very liberating. You can do anything with almost no cost. It's not free. It's not completely free, but I'll ask it to do a task. Right now, I literally have my AI working and building something right now, and it'll probably work for about 45 minutes on this task. It's a pretty big task I gave it. And it's just going to crank and crank and crank and crank, keep checking itself, whatever, until it's done. And it will probably cost me roughly $17 is my guess, just based on what I've been seeing lately. So let's do the math on that, right? 45 minutes, $17. Let's make it $15 for easy math. It's about $20 an hour, right? $22 an hour if we want to get closer. $22 an hour is $44,000 a year. I can tell you right now that hiring someone for $44,000 a year in a very, basic job, like entry level assistant or secretary, or I don't know, someone who's just like managing my calendar, would be hard at $44,000 a year, right? I'm paying $50,000, $60,000 usually for a really good person in that type of a role. A developer or somebody, and the reality is the amount of work that this AI is going to do in that 45 minutes is it would take humans, it would easily take them a month to do. So I'm paying $17 for something I would have to pay a developer probably somewhere around, let's say minimum $100,000 a year. Let's make it easy math, $10,000 a month. And $100,000 a year, by the way, is $50 an hour, right? So $50 an hour compared to $22 an hour. And I'd have to pay them for a whole month or $10,000 instead. I'm only paying 17. And so the reason I'm saying these numbers, guys, it's really, 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 really important that you understand this, because it underscores how big of an impact this is going to have on the world. $10,000 versus 17. Okay. It's 99.98% cheaper or whatever the number is, right? It's almost free compared to what it used to be. Yes, my end of the month bill, my AI bill at the end of the month might be $3,000. That's because I'm doing a ton with it. I have lots of different platforms, and the amount I'm getting for $3,000 is easily equivalent to $300,000. It's absolutely 99% cheaper. And so if you don't think that a 99% cheaper improvement is going to change the world, then I don't know how to convince you.
That's huge, all right? 99% cheaper than it was before. And as you said, over 50% of your team were developers in the past, and now it's AI, right? Super interested in that particular example that you said is running at the moment, or just a little bit more around how you're helping businesses with AI. If you could share a little bit about that.
Yeah, when I first started Gen AI PI, it was really meant to be kind of a hands-off business, and where people could come to the website, see how smart they are with AI, do kind of an AIQ test. That's what I called it, even though it'd be AI IQ, but it just rolls off the tongue better to say AIQ. So, but yeah, you just basically come in, take a test, see how smart you are. If you do well, then you can take a more in-depth test, pay for it, and get a certification, and say, hey, I'm certified by the General AI Proficiency Institute, right? And that would be cool. And then the other side of that would be they do poorly on that test, and I say, okay, well, here's some courses for you. And so I built this whole system that can do quizzes and tests and course reviews and certificates when you're done and all these different things, right? And so there are probably other systems I could have plugged into, but they wouldn't have been exactly what I wanted, and I wouldn't have had control over all the branding, and it wouldn't have been able to, I wouldn't have been able to use AI to build all this stuff. Like I used AI to build all the content, all the tests, everything. Now I guided it a lot, right? I certainly am still the boss here, but AI does a lot of the work and making it happen. So right now what I'm actually having to do is I have an AI in business course, and it's just a self-guided course. And the last time it was updated was about 6 months ago. And so I said, hey, I need you to go through and I need you to check all the latest and greatest with AI in business. Remember, this is a beginner level course, so we don't need to go super deep, but come through, suggest updates. And then after it suggested the updates, I approved it and I said, great, now go make all those updates to the course. So it will update every quiz, every test, everything, a lot of the content. It will build new content, say, hey, we need a new section for this. And it is building a new section of content. And so it's doing not only the technical side of things of building new quizzes and things and automations and stuff like that, it's also doing the content creation for me, right? It's going through and identifying what really matters most right now and what's this. And it's doing it all. Here's the other cool thing. This is why it's different than any other content you would find. It's doing it all through the lens of the way that we teach AI. It knows all of those things. And we have very specific ways that we teach and things we focus on. And so it's still, even though AI is creating a lot of the content, it still is very unique to us, and it still has the human element and the human filters that it's going through as the content is built out. And then we always go through and we'll check it and modify it and have it clean something up or whatever. But for the most part, it's doing weeks and weeks of work that would be probably multiple teams: a content team, a development team, QA team, all these different teams that have to go through this kind of stuff. And now it's just doing that. And so anyway, that's how we started was courses and certifications. And we still do that. We still have that on the site, and people come to our site all the time and pay for those things. And that's awesome. But then I started having businesses saying, hey, could you come in and, train us and teach us all your secrets and everything? And I was like, yeah, sure. And so I started charging $10,000 to $15,000 a day, right? I would go in and have companies pay me, 10 grand to just go in and teach, for 6 or 7 hours, in their business and, in front of 100 people or 50 people or whatever. And that was good. That was good. People. And I'm very practical, very hands-on. Everyone has their computer. They're building right there. We're vibe coding. We're trying stuff out. And so really fun, really effective training. And in fact, I still teach a course like that, my How to Build a Business in a Weekend with AI course. I teach that usually about once a month. That's just kind of for fun. You can find it on the website if you want, on genaipi.org. But now most of our money comes from businesses that said, hey, that's cool that you taught us, but we want you to help us really implement this. You guys know what you're doing. Can you help us install this stuff and make sure that people are constantly getting trained? It's great that we got trained last month, but AI is changing so fast. What about this? And what about that? And what about when it changes next month? Can we have some maybe more ongoing presence? And what I heard there as an entrepreneur was, recurring revenue. Yeah, let's go. So I said, yeah, let's put that together. So we came up with a model or I came up with a model, I guess, because I did it solo in the beginning, which is our fractional chief AI officer kind of model, right? Where we're saying, hey, we're bringing in, leadership level, C-suite level type people. And, in the beginning it was me, and I have an advantage in that I have been there and done that and been the CEO for a long time. And I've built and sold companies and all of that stuff. And so I actually have a decent amount of leadership level, intelligence or experience really to bring to the table. I don't know about intelligence, but definitely experience. Anyway, so we built that model out, and companies pay us now anywhere from 10 to 25,000 a month, and we provide ongoing service. And I was able to build that model up solo to about $1 million. And at that point, I was like, okay, I don't think I can scale much beyond this, because it became more human intensive than I initially anticipated or wanted it to be. But the opportunity was there, and demand is there, and it keeps growing, right? And so I now have 5 people on staff, and I'm going to hire a couple more this month. So we're growing very quickly. We're bringing on new clients. I think we've brought on 5 new clients in the last 2 weeks. Those clients, by the way, just do the math, right? At minimum are 10,000 a month, and at maximum are 25,000 a month. And not even maximum, we have some that are above that, but most of them fall in there. Our average client is 17,000 a month, right? So 17, let's do the math. I'll use my little calculator here, because, that's 17 times 12 is 204,000 annually, right? So every client is 204,000 annually on average across the company. And so if we brought in 5 new clients in the last 2 weeks, 5 times 200,000, it's $1 million of annual recurring revenue we've brought to the table. And so there's millions of businesses right now. I brought on 5 in the last couple of weeks. Hey, there's millions of businesses. There's no way I can handle that all on my own. And so there's so much opportunity for people out there to go out, learn AI, see what's possible, see what you can do, and then go help other businesses do it. It is a sure pattern that has worked with every technology revolution that's come about. You kind of start in the consulting space, and then what we're doing now is we're expanding our ability to deliver for even more clients per person, per employee on our side, by systematizing things, by building not only just like, hey, do this, then that, then this, like SOPs, standard operating procedures, but actually vibe coding systems that are helping us deliver better at more scale. But you don't know that until you get in and you start building it and figuring out, what is your system? What is the way you help companies? How do you do that? And everyone will be different, and there's no right or wrong way. Do it the way you think is great, but just make sure you're making an impact on that company. Don't sell someone a $15,000 package and then run off with it and not deliver any value. Go deliver value. And if you really push and you figure that out and work with the client and ask for feedback, you might even lose some of your early clients. It's okay. You'll figure it out, and you'll build those systems that will help you build a real business.
Amazing that you've built such a strong business in a short space of time, right? And as you said, you just need 5 clients and you're up to $1 million business, which is incredible. You talked about delivering the real value, which is obviously key. And 17,000 a month isn't something to sniff at. So what are you doing on, say, month 1, month 2, month 3, and then ongoing in terms of delivering value that is having people sign up to that sort of level retainer?
Yeah. It's a good question. And I want to say one other thing here that I think is worth just pointing out. A lot of people hear 17,000 a month for one client, and they're like, man, if just my income was 17,000 a month, like I'd be set, right? That's double what I make now, triple, quadruple what I make now, right? I mean, man, can I just go do that? Absolutely. Go learn AI and go get yourself hired as a full-time VP of AI or head of AI or chief AI officer for a company. Get salary and benefits on top of that, right? You can easily sell yourself at $200K. Easy sale to go get yourself hired full-time by a company to go help them. And then, you're in there. Identify the right size company and all that. I'll talk about right size company for a minute. So I like to aim for companies that are doing 10 million plus. Doesn't mean that companies smaller than that can't use it, right? And especially if you're going to go get hired full-time, a company that's doing 5 or 6 million, no problem. They can afford to pay you 200,000 probably. If that's just kind of your only client, they can probably fit that in, especially if you feel like you really can make an impact. But the reality is, at 10 million a year, that's almost $1 million a month. And so you're coming in and saying, all right, I need 10 grand a month, right? At kind of a starting level package. That's 1% of their revenue. And if you go in and you're like, look, some of the things that I'm going to teach your team and that we're going to implement could save your team 20% of their time, 10% of their time, 50% of their time on some tasks. What does that do for you to become that more efficient? not have to hire more people, and maybe even make more money, right, in the process, because you're so much more efficient. You can do more, and it costs you 1% of your revenue, right? That type of an ROI sale is pretty dang easy for a CEO to understand. And CEO is who you're talking to, by the way. Don't call the VP of operations or the HR director that's over training. No, talk to the CEO. The CEO is the one saying, if I don't do something about AI, it's my fault, right? I need to go and I need to do this. I'm the leader. I need to make sure we don't miss the boat here. And so go out and find that CEO, talk to them, ask them about what they're doing. Most of the time they're going to be like, we have no idea. We don't know what we're doing. We need someone like you. That's why I'm on a phone call with you. Amazing. Well, let me show you how for 1% of your revenue or less, I can come in and change your life, change your business. And they're like, yeah, let's go. Let's sign this contract. So let's get going. Once you got the contract, then you got to actually deliver, right? Then it's the scary part, right? For a lot of people, especially with their first one, they're just like, man, I don't know. So here's how you do it. Just go in and talk to the leadership team, right? You're going to start with the CEO. Actually, you might even end with the CEO, but you're going to talk to the VP of sales and the VP of marketing or the CMO and the head of operations and the head of delivery and the head of whatever, right? You're just going to talk to all the department heads basically and say, tell me about what you do. Let me learn your business. Help me understand what's going on here. And then you ask them, where do you think automations could help? What's repetitive? What's taking you guys a lot of time? And if you've done your homework to know what AI can do, if you know what's possible, you don't have to know how to do it. You just have to know what's possible. Then you'll be able to help them identify and say, oh, hey, you are spending a lot of time moving data from this system to this system. That's literally data entry, right? There's lots of data entry jobs out there, right? What if we completely automate all of your data entry so you have no more humans that have to do that? It'll eliminate mistakes. It will save tons of time. You won't have to hire more people as you grow. You can teach your existing data entry team how to use these systems and how to make sure they're good. And you can have them do bigger tasks. You don't have to go fire a bunch of people when you automate with AI. You can go and you can just give them bigger opportunities and grow. They already know your business. Don't fire them. Go put them on something else. Become more efficient and more money for everybody. More money for everybody. You don't have to go and just fire your team. I've seen a lot of companies cut too quickly when they really are like, they just got rid of the person that understood that lead or that data entry system the best, right? Like, man, what the heck? Like, I know you want AI to do it, but let that person manage it, right? And just slow to fire sometimes can pay you in dividends later on. So anyway, long story short, go in and do this kind of, we call it our executive tour, right? And talk to people. And as you come out of each of those meetings, they might be 20, 30 minutes, maybe even 15 minutes. We've gotten them pretty quick. And we've even started audit with systems where we have an AI interview that person and they'll answer questions. And so now we get all this stuff without even having to spend any of our time on a phone call with them. And you'll get from each person, each department head, easily 3 to 10 projects, places where things can improve. Things where people need to learn, where they need to become better at using AI and integrate it, build out processes. And if you do that across 5 or 6 departments, boom, you've got 4 years of work, right? You've got so many projects and things to start working on. And then you just have to prioritize and you work with leadership to prioritize. So you usually go back to the CEO. That's why I said maybe you meet with the CEO last and you say, I'm sure you've got some projects. Let me show you what we've identified. And he's like, yep, they already brought it up. This and this and this. Those are my priorities. Let's start there. And you're like, okay, let's go. Let's get to work, boss. And you just get started and then deliver. That's then the maybe scarier part. Can you actually deliver? And the reality is, if you don't know exactly how to deliver, you know who does know? ChatGPT. So does Claude. So do all these AIs. They know how to do it and they'll walk you through the system. And you can argue with it. And you say, I don't like that. How can we do this better? There's got to be better ways to do this. And sometimes, and I've even done this, sometimes I will work with a company and they will say, hey, this is cool, but is there a faster way to do it? And I'll be like, there's actually this platform out here that already does this. You should just sign up for that, right? And I've done that, right? I mean, sometimes literally all you have to do is provide the consulting side of it. You don't even have to build it. You're just like, yeah. But if you're aware, you can't recommend a business. Like there's a business I love to recommend called Zenny. Zenny is a company out of the Bay Area that does AI powered accounting basically, right? And so they do have a human in the loop, but AI scrapes your QuickBooks and watches everything and sorts everything and categorizes it all perfectly and just makes it awesome. And cool. But, if I tried to rebuild Zenny on my own for a company that says, hey, I want to really automate everything, I'd be like, okay, cool. We can build that. It's pretty complex. If we do it wrong, it could be messed up, right? What if, and you still kind of need a human on it anyway. for $3,000 a month, you could come over here and you could just buy this Zenny platform and all of your stuff is done. And they've already built it and you don't have to wait. You can start using it next week. And they're like, that's what I want to do, right? It's gonna be way cheaper than paying me $15,000 a month to try and figure this out, manage it, maintain it, implement it, and try to keep up with Zenny. Zenny's already doing it. So sometimes the right answer is to just know what's out there and make the proper recommendation. So don't be selfish and be like, oh yeah, this is cool, I'm going to do it all. Serve the client and their needs, help them, even if you lose the client after 6 months because you just built all the systems and you're done, right? It's not ideal. And there's ways you can avoid that long term. But the reality is if you put the customer first, they will bring you more customers. That's what I've found, right? They will just bring you more people. So anyway, yeah, that's kind of the process. Go in, sell it, go in, identify the needs and get started and use AI to fill in the gaps.
Great advice. Really, really good advice. In terms of those workflows, you touched on accounting there. Have you seen patterns as you're speaking to leadership, as you're identifying, projects? Are you working more heavily in certain areas? Like, for example, does go to market pop up a lot? You talked about accounting there. Are there patterns where you are doing sort of some easy, quick wins, low-hanging fruit automations? Is there a cluster of where you're focused within the business?
Yeah, you'd be surprised how different every company is that we work with. There are some patterns, but man, they all have their own things they want to work on. And some of them, their own proprietary systems or their own things, whatever it is. But no question that they all have, they all want accounting to be easier. They want invoicing to be more automated. They want bidding. A lot of companies want bidding and proposals to be much more automated so that they don't have, because it takes them a lot of time to put together a proposal. And if they can build a system that works, that speeds that process up, then they want that. People are really looking forward to making the sales process easier. One thing that we implement a lot is, and that we use in our company, I hate CRMs. That's a lie. I hate updating CRMs. I love what CRMs bring to my business. They allow me to track customers and keep a record of everything. But man, I hate doing a sales call and then I jump off and I want to just go to the next thing. I don't want to be like, okay, let me just think through that and update the record here. And I talked to this guy and here's my follow-up task. And I don't want to do that. It's the busy work around sales that I don't enjoy. And a lot of salespeople are the same way. And so we built a system using OpenClaw, right, which is a little bit more advanced, setup, AI setup, that we call it Jarvis. And Jarvis helps us update our CRM, which, by the way, we built our own CRM, right? And so we have complete control over all the APIs and all of what's possible and everything. And so every time we do anything, it just automatically ingests all the content, updates it, and it knows, and it sets up an email and it says, hey, I've already, put together a draft of the email that's going to go out post meeting, it's in your outbox, go look at it. And so I'll jump in and I'll usually edit a little bit in the draft and then click send. But it saves me, 20 minutes per client easily, if not 30 minutes maybe. And that adds up, right? If I'm doing 18 pitches a week times 30 minutes, that's 9 hours I just got back to do other things. So lots around sales, lots around automations there. But every department has their pet projects they want to work on.
Cool. And you touched on the fact that you build your own CRM, which is fantastic, right? But also that you can recommend AI software. So are there other sort of software systems that you're building bespoke internally that actually work for this sort of bespoke build out versus ones that you're happy to sort of contract in and still use sort of ready-made?
Yeah, I just like to keep myself aware. Again, I'm a naturally curious person. And so I follow a bunch. The way that I learn at this point is I follow a bunch of cool people on X and Instagram and LinkedIn or whatever. I post actively on LinkedIn. And so people comment. I just see stuff. It shows up in my feed. These platforms know that I like AI. And so I see all these systems. And then when I see something, I'm like, oh, that's actually kind of cool. That actually might be useful. I'll click on it and I'll investigate a little bit. And if I like it enough, then I might try a demo of it or I might buy it. And so as we eat our own dog food for sure, right? I don't build my own finance system. I use Zenny. I don't build my own I don't buy my own CRM. I build my own one. And we do that a lot for a lot of our clients because Salesforce and HubSpot, they're good. They're great. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. If you can afford it and if you already have those systems built in, great, stick with them. But man, we just don't need 90% of what those platforms offer. right? We have our own way to do things. And I just need to see, okay, here's this client, here's this company, here's this deal. And let's correlate and move them together and move them through a process and close the deal. And so and then from there into client delivery. And that's one thing that a lot of these platforms are terrible at. HubSpot, Salesforce, whatever. They're not great at, they're great at tracking the deal until it closes. And then you have to move to another platform to track progress and client account management, all that stuff, client success. I don't know. I'm not a fan of having to jump between platforms. So we said, let's just build our own that just does it, just flows easily into the next one. Building that type of a system, that type of a CRM takes like 6 hours. It's one day. It's not hard. And especially once you get good at it, right? Once you get good at knowing how to work the systems and what you want, and you can figure out how to make that happen. So yeah, I just recommend anybody listening, just go out and learn what's possible. And the way to do that is to just kind of immerse yourself in it. If you're going to spend time on social media, but don't look at cat videos all the time. You can do it every once in a while. It's fine. Follow a bunch of these useful pages and you'll just naturally start learning in your free time while you're sitting on the toilet, right? You'll be like, man, that's a cool system. I'm making good use of this time here.
Awesome. And you touched on it before around focus on CEOs, focus on businesses that are 10 million plus. Anything else that you sort of recommend in terms of an ICP, ideal customer profile for a business that requires and would benefit from these sort of automation, recurring revenue subscriptions?
Yeah. Instead of going for the Silicon Valley style companies, go for the Main Street companies, right? Go for the blue collar ones, the ones that are probably being run by 50, 60-year-olds, maybe even 70-year-olds, right? Those guys don't have AI implemented. And a lot of them are making a ton of money, right? Piano stores, paint shops, HVAC companies, they don't have tons of technology. They might have some automation, customer automation, things like that, but very little in terms of actually really using AI at scale. And they still do lots of manual work. A lot of them still use paper. Man, it's crazy. Or go to law firms, go to dental offices, go to places. One of the things that you might notice if you just think about it, from a piano store to a law firm to a dental office to, that HVAC company. None of these companies have a CTO. They don't have a technical leader. They don't have technical leadership. And you show up and you're like, hey, you need technical leadership. You need AI. I can be that for you. And they're like, you're right. We're behind. We can't ignore this one. Let's go. So if they have enough money, if they're doing well, right? If you tackle a company that's making $1 million a year, you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle going and closing deals. That being said, I did just close a deal with somebody who's doing exactly $1 million a year, almost exactly that. And they are one person. They're a doctor. They run their own practice. They do everything and they feel like they're drowning. And I'm like, amazing. This could be such a fun case study. I'm doing a case study on them. I'll share their name later once we've actually done it. We just did their kickoff call yesterday. So it's a brand new client. But to this doctor, she said, yeah, 10 grand a month for, you being able to take a lot of the stuff off my plate and automate it and have AI take over some of this busy work so I can just meet with patients and do the high value stuff. That's cool. That's what I want. Right. So anyway, I'm excited to be doing that. So there are exceptions to the rule, to the $10 million rule, but there's so many of these companies out there that are just raking in the dough. They're great at business. They're great in their field. And then you just go in and you help them be better by bringing in AI and this tech side of things. Let me also, just while I remember it, let me just give a little warning. Be careful when implementing AI. If you're new, there's a lot of things you can do to mess up that business, right? You might accidentally delete all their records. You might accidentally open up a cybersecurity hold, where they can get hacked. And there's a lot of things you can do wrong. And so don't get in over your head. If you feel like you don't know, ask someone. It's worth it to ask someone. It's worth to pay someone $200 or $500 to have them consult on it and just be like, hey, will you just look at this? And at the very least, ask your AI to look at everything. Every time you build anything, right? Hey, I do it very regularly, right? My genaipi.org, that whole thing is built on with vibe coding and on Replit. And I've hosted it there for over a year and it's just done amazing. It's brought so much business and it's great. Least once a month, if not every couple of weeks, I say, do a complete analysis of the website. Show me every hole where someone could hack in, where there's some sort of exploit, there's something. And it's like, oh yeah, there's actually, this was updated. This was discovered. We need to update this. We need to do that. And even if nothing changed, even if I added nothing new to the site, sometimes new bugs come up, new exploits are discovered and they update it. So you have to just be aware that there are some things you got to pay attention to. Jimmy, you're in Poland, I think you said, and if you're in certain parts of the world where maybe GDPR matters a little bit more, and maybe you have ADA disability type compatibility that is by law in some countries and things like that. Even little things like that can trip you up if you don't do it right. Make sure you're using cookies properly. Make sure you're doing tracking usage of people on your site within the bounds of the law, right? I mean, there's some to diving into software development if you don't know what you're doing. And so if you and here's the thing, you might not know what GDPR or ADA or these cybersecurity things are. Totally fine. Ask your AI and say, hey, here's where I operate. Here's my clients. Here's where they are. Here's what we do. What risks are there here? And is this software built in a way that manages those risks? Okay. Just rewind what I said and write down exactly what I did. Just say it to your AI. What risks are there? And is there anything we need to do to plug in those holes? And it'll come back and say, yeah, actually, based on this, and this, you should be doing this, all of these things. Here's my plan. Would you like me to do it? Yes.
Mhm. Right. Yeah, it's a really good call out because yeah, security is one that comes up a lot, right? So yeah, great to lead on consultants, as you said, in those specific cases. When it comes to delivery, you talked about the tech stack. You use Replit a lot, ChatGPT, and you said you got a team of 5. You hired a couple more, which is amazing. What's the sort of touch points like with a client, right? So you got a new client that you just brought on board, or you got some existing clients. How much sort of FaceTime are you having with the client themselves? Yeah, what sort of human in the loop setup do you have for that particular client? Do they have an account manager? How much of it, as you said, is sort of handed off as part of the training piece and owned by the client themselves versus you really interested to see what your sort of delivery setup is?
Yeah, I mean this in the best way. I don't really trust the client to do it on their own. If I just leave it to be on their own, they're going to be like, we need to cut back on expenses. Let's drop this AI thing. We're not really using it that much. If you just leave them to them, that's where you're going to end up. You'll end up in this bucket of like things that we don't use very well. So you want to be proactive, right? And so the model that I have, one fractional chief AI officer can handle roughly 6 clients. And so those 6 clients, so they have, an average employee is working roughly 160 to 180 hours a month. So divide that by 6 and you can see how many hours we're allocating per client per month, right? Down at that 17,000 per month, it averages out to right about there, right? 20 to 25 hours or so per client per month. And some of those hours are meetings with the client where it's, just a 15-minute sync or even longer than that if we're going to work on something. One of my guys logged something today in Jarvis and said, hey, you just met with the client for 3 hours, worked on the dashboard all morning. Cool. That's a bigger, longer working session. And so sometimes we do that. And we're often building with them and really helping them understand what's going on. We're not trying to be this secretive black box behind the scenes, really trying to enable and help them feel you just have to think of it this way. If you were hired by a company to be their chief AI officer, what would you do? What would you do with your time? Well,
Mhm.
you stay on top of AI and the latest and greatest so that you know what's going on. You'd meet with leadership and figure out what are their priorities, and you'd want to know their goals in the company and what are our sales goals and how are we hitting and are we tracking to that? Is there anything I can help with? Right? You would, if you just kind of take that approach of like, okay, if I was in here, I'd be wanting to train people, and hey, this team over here really could do better in the company if they knew how to use this, and that. And so I'm going to teach them that this month. And so not every month is the same. No 2 months are the same, really. Sometimes there's more training. Sometimes there's more working on things. Sometimes there's more strategy. But sometimes, and usually, it's a good mix of all 3.
Yeah, it's really good mix, right? And as you said, it's sort of you've got to have that engagement if you're going to be that sort of fractional chief AI officer role. Interested to hear you were that first chief AI officer starting out, and with your wealth of experience, as you said, sort of C-suite level from what you've done previously. Is that the kind of profile of people that you're bringing on, or are you bringing on sort of younger people who perhaps are growing up in and around AI? Just interested in putting these individuals as chief AI officers, part of 10 million, revenue businesses. Is there a profile person that you think fits that role well, that's sort of delivered well for you?
I just like go-getters, right? The reality is our average employee age is 40. I turned 40 this year. And so we're all basically the same age, right? 38 to 42 is like literally like we're all that age, which is it just kind of happened that way. But I think what happened was people that are 40 have been around the block. They've been in businesses for long enough without AI, and they've understood how things are done. And now they're young enough that they can figure it out. They can grasp the new concepts and the new technology pretty dang quickly, faster than maybe a 60-year-old would be able to. Nothing against 60-year-olds. There's plenty of them that are doing great stuff, but just on average, you're going to find that a 40-year-old is going to adapt faster. If you're a 22-year-old and you're wanting to do this, you're going to have a little bit of an uphill battle saying, I know why this matters in a business. That's what you're going to want to be studying in your free time, right? You're going to pick up the AI and the tech super fast. That's easy. You're going to want to be reading business books about like, okay, and talking to AI. Okay, what is EBITDA? You're going to have to be figuring out, what are these basic business principles and how does it work? How do I get sales to work? How does the system work? How does operations work? How can we solve more HR problems? I've never been in a company that had, where I didn't like the HR manager. How can we use AI to do this? And so just not having been around the block will be a little bit of an impediment, but it's not the end of the world. And you might charge less and go to a smaller client to start with, right? You might say, you know what, I'm going to aim for those, $3 to $5 million businesses, and I'm going to charge $7,000 a month, right? And I'm going to learn. And then once I really get some experience and I've had 20 clients or even 10 clients, I'm going to move up a little bit. I'm going to move up market. So there's places for everything. I would recommend if you're a 25-year-old trying to sell this stuff that you don't try to go to Fortune 500s. They're not going to hire you. It's not going to happen. They know you don't have that experience. And you might be able to build some cool systems. Doesn't mean you can't. I'm not saying it's impossible, but on average, it will probably be a little bit more difficult.
Good advice. Really, really good. In terms of securing those first clients, as you said, I think I heard from the podcast that you on recently that, calling individuals is working for you. What's your approach and recommendation for, go to market in terms of securing that first client versus a continued system to onboard clients?
So I think there's probably three things I want to bring up here. One, you need a website. Okay. Make your website look awesome. AI can help you do that easily. Okay. Just make it look awesome. Make sure there's no mistakes on the website. I like to call those paper cuts. You could die by 1,000 paper cuts. And so if you build a website and there's a link to an X, account or an Instagram profile, make sure that link works and it goes to your profile or to your company profile or whatever it is, however you have that working. Okay. But have a brand, have something that feels like, because people are just going to go check it out. And they might not even care much what the website says, other than the fact they'd be like, yeah, they've got a good website. Looks like they know what they're doing, right? It just inspires confidence. It's one of those kind of like check the boxes. If there's not a website, that might be a paper cut, right? That'd be a big paper cut. They're like, oh yeah, this is just some random dude that's trying to sell me a contract, which is fine if that's how you're presenting yourself. But if you're like, no, I'm committed to this. This is what I do. Then mean it, right? Go buy a domain, figure it out, spend $12 and publish a website. Okay. So that's the first thing. Two, your social media matters, especially in the business world, LinkedIn. If you are not active on LinkedIn, that's another paper cut. That's another shooting yourself in the foot and missed opportunity. I would say 90+% of my deals that I'm getting are inbound. I post every day on LinkedIn, 2 or 3 times a day. And I talk about AI and I talk about where I went hiking and what I was thinking about while I was hiking. I was thinking about AI can't really replicate this. And, these experiences out here in nature are good, whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. Right. But I post on LinkedIn about my life. I post about, all the different cool things I'm seeing. Just before I jumped on this podcast, I posted an awesome thing about, one of the new LLM models from Anthropic that is really too powerful for them to release and what it really means for us. And so I just thought that was interesting. So I posted about it and people then comment on it. And then when people comment on it and people start to know, oh, hey, John's someone who knows about AI. Then they start asking you, right? And then when it comes up in their company meeting, hey, we need help with AI. Anybody know anybody? Oh yeah, I know this guy. So I'm talking about it. Or he talks about it all the time. He's an expert, right? People will perceive you as an expert. You will become an expert actually, right? If you talk about it a lot, right? So post every day on LinkedIn. You must do it. You must do it. I think I said there were 3 things here for getting businesses. Oh yeah. Yeah. And then the last one is you do just have to be willing to pick up the phone, right? If you try to set up automated email systems and cold emails and all that, it's not going to work well. If I'm going to cold message somebody, I'm going to do it on LinkedIn. Why? Because I have almost 30,000 followers on there and millions of profile views a month and tons of engagement and tons of content about AI. And so if I reach out to someone that doesn't know me and I'm like, hey, I do AI, your company looks like you guys could use some help. What are you guys doing over there? right? Oh yeah, if before they respond to me, most likely they're going to go and they're going to click on my profile and they're going to see, does this guy know what he's talking about? Right?
Mhm.
And in 30 seconds, they're going to be like, yeah, this guy knows. Like there's a clip of him on Joe Rogan and here's a clip of this. And, yeah, that's cool. And not everyone's going to have, the big clips. And you might start out not having them, but if you talk about it enough, you'll become an expert. And guess where experts end up? On podcasts like this one right here, right? If you had talked to me 2 years ago, I've been on podcasts many times because I've been a CEO for a long time. But if you'd have asked me about AI, I wouldn't have had a lot to say. But over the last couple of years, I have posted about it every single day and I have become an expert. So become an expert, guys. It adds up over time. It might take you a year to really start seeing results. That's where most people mess up is like, yeah, I posted for like 3 weeks and nobody even commented on my posts. Okay, well, keep doing it. Also, did you comment on anybody else's posts? Are you giving people a reason to come look at your profile? Are you messaging anybody? Are you active? If you just post and say, come by for me, come by for me, come by for me, that's not going to help. Gary Vaynerchuk, this guy, amazing, right? One of the best marketers out there. He has another book called Jab, 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 Right Hook, right? And the idea behind that is, the jab is giving value, give value, give value, give value, expecting nothing in return, right? Here is my favorite platform. Here's the one I use for accounting. Here's why I like it. Here's what it could do for you. Contact him if you want, right? Here is my favorite tool. This is how I build this. Click on this, do that. Free value, free value, free value. Here's my analysis of this new model and what it means. Free value. Then occasionally throw a hook in there. Hey, if you need help with AI, you know where to find me. Send me a DM and you'll get your voice down. You'll figure it out. I would recommend not using AI to write your posts. If you want to use AI to get ideas for your posts or maybe to clean them up a little bit, but man, people can see right through AI writing and you won't get a lot of followers that way. Anytime I see somebody wrote their post with AI, I scroll immediately. I do not care. I don't want to hear what an LLM has to say. I want to hear what that person has to say about that topic. If I want to know what the LLM has to say, I'll ask my LLM. Right? Like I just don't care about your AI written post. So really become a real presence is what I mean. Become a real presence on LinkedIn. If you want to do AI for business, you must do it on LinkedIn. Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and Snap or, they're not going to help. Reddit's probably pretty good too. Probably some good opportunity in there and I could do that better. But man, I only have 24 hours in a day.
Very true, right? There's so many different platforms. There's even X and things like that. I don't know if you use that, but
I
sometimes
do. You know what? It's funny. I haven't really used X much in the past, and the last couple weeks I have, just because I went from like 600 followers. Like I really haven't posted to it. LinkedIn, I've got 30,000. Facebook, I have like not huge, but like maybe I think I want to say like 16,000. Instagram, I'm at like 12,000, and so nothing crazy. These numbers aren't like I'm a huge influencer, but I do have a following. But on X, I had like 600. I had nothing, and now I have like 1,700. Right. Mostly I would say thanks to nice Chris Corner shout out and a couple other things. And Cody Sanchez talked about me and Amjad Masad is the CEO of Replit said something about me. Just a bunch of big influencers were like, this guy, Jon, anyway, and then people retweeted stuff and then all of a sudden everyone's following me. And so I'm like, yeah, whatever. I guess I'll turn that into a platform I use a little bit more now. So yeah, I went from 600 to 1,700 in a couple of weeks, and I'll hit 2,000 probably by the end of this week, and keep going from there. And that's a new platform, so I'm learning. I'm still learning. I'm not. I hope that's encouraging to those listening that are just starting. Like you don't have to just be everywhere all the time, right? Right from the get go. Just build it over time. Consistency pays off. It pays off to turn you into an expert. The most important part of the being an expert is that you're learning while you're posting. And when someone challenges your idea, you have to think about, what do I think about this? Why is this true? Do I really believe this? Or maybe you change your opinion. Oh, you know what? You're right. I think I agree with you. I think maybe I was wrong. And be okay to be wrong, even in public, right? Be willing to adapt and learn and just be open and don't get offended by someone disagreeing with you. Learn and go out and figure it out. But you don't have to be an expert to get to start. You just get into the game, get into the conversation. And as soon as I mean, I'm not kidding you. 2 weeks of learning hard with AI and experimenting and building with Replit, trying things and whatever, you are way ahead of those business owners that you can start selling to.
amazing. No, great advice. And yeah, in terms of the sort of the last bit of value that you want to give someone who's, again, just starting out, who is just going to immerse himself, learn as much about it as possible? What would you say to sort of help someone go from 0 to 1 in sort of trying to build out their own AI business?
Yeah. I'm going to kind of repeat what I said earlier, but just make it very, very specific. Go to Replit, sign up for an account. Okay. Might be $20 a month. Okay. $25 a month. I don't know. It's relatively cheap. Go sign up for it and go build something. Go build your AI website, your AI consulting website, your AI system, your AI transformation, whatever the heck you want to call it. Okay. Go build your website, and just getting into it, you'll be like, man, this is real. This looks awesome. I think I could sell this. I could put this in front of a company and they would love it, right? Just go build it. Just go get started, and you'll learn as you go, and you'll make mistakes, and that's okay. Adjust, pivot, work through, do it better the next time. And that's what I recommend, right? Fill in all the gaps with everything else, right? Start posting on social, start doing this and that, start showing up to local AI meetups, business things. There's all kinds of networking that you can do as well that's really good, that gets you involved in the scene and whatever. And when people ask you what you do, I help businesses with AI. Someone there's going to be like, oh, hey, you help business with AI. I'm a business. I need help with AI. And they're going to come talk to you and be like, yeah, let's do it. And you'll figure it out. You just got to put yourself out there, get into the arena. And so to get into the arena here, go do Replit. Go try Replit. I think that's the best platform. Replit does not pay me to say that. I just love it. They've enabled me, and they just happen to be a great tool that I'm really good with. I'm really good at using it. I can produce incredible things with it so fast. And so because I can, and I'm a non-technical, non-developer, like I know you can. I know anybody can. Even if you are a developer, Replit is an incredible integrated development environment, or an IDE, where you can go in and build very, very powerful stuff. And so it's not just for the regular people like me. It's for those smart technical people too. But go build your website. That will start you down the journey, right? And maybe, by the way, I want to also say this. Maybe you don't want to go be an AI expert, and do that. Go use AI anyway and start that company that you've been wanting to start, that side gig, whatever it is. Go open Replit, tell it what you want to do in plain English, and click go. And like 10 minutes later, you're going to be like, holy crap, this is a business. I should start actually making this work, and just kind of keep working through the process.
Incredible. And when it comes to your business, just again, as further inspiration to the audience here, how quickly did you go from starting out to your first revenue? Where are you at now in terms of revenue? And yeah, how big can you see this business getting?
Yeah. So it took me 5 days to get my first $15,000 contract, right? From when I started working on the project on a Thursday. I worked all day Thursday, Friday, Saturday, like 12 hours a day, 3 days in a row. Just super intense, hardcore sprint. I just went for it. And I built it out, and I was like, okay, this kind of works. And so I started running some ads on Facebook, whatever. And then I called a business Tuesday morning, and I was like, hey, I want to work with you. And they're like, yeah, let's do it. And so I got that first client and adjusted my model a little bit to, that eventually landed in this fractional chief AI officer kind of model. And today we're doing, I need to look at the numbers to be exact, but it's probably somewhere above 3 to 3.5 million annually now. And started this a year ago. And this year we will hit 7.5 to 8. That's my projection. Yeah, we're only April 8th. Time's on my side. We're only through Q1 basically, and we're speeding up. Momentum is accelerating, right? The snowball gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And so yeah, my stretch goal is 10. My stretch goal is 10 million in annual recurring revenue. So for those of you that don't know what that means I wouldn't have made $10 million this year. I would be to a point where I'm making roughly 800,000 a month, right? In revenue, not in profit, right? 800,000 a month. And then, probably roughly 50 to 60% of that will go towards costs. And so that's pretty cool. That's, 300,000 in profit a month, right? Or 3.6 million a year in profit. That's good. That's enough to buy a couple new houses, or, one really nice one, or reinvest it and keep growing, which is what I'm doing right now. That's the stage I'm in right now. If I'm pushing, 3 million in profit, first of all, I don't like paying taxes. And because I don't like paying taxes, I look for ways to get as close to break even as possible. And so I'll invest. I'll buy more things. I'll buy the equipment. I'll buy, whatever it is I can to figure out how that works, buy new computers for the whole staff. I don't know. Like there's different ways to do that instead of having to pay big tax bills. That you'll have to talk to your CPA about. But yeah, the money's very real. You could have your first, client paying you 10 to 20,000 a month, heck, even 5,000 a month, which I know would make a huge difference for so many people out there. You could be making that 30 days from now. No problem. You get started today. 30 days from now, you could have money coming in.
Jon, thank you so much. It's definitely been inspirational from my point of view. No doubt it will be for the audience as well. But thank you for, as you said, being very much an open book, sharing your experience, and being with us on the pod this time around.
My pleasure, Jimmy. Happy to come back in a year and have you tell me all the stories about how you're doing all this and other people that hopefully listen to this and got inspired. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, please do. I'd love to do that. And for anyone listening, yeah, jump in the comments, share what you're building, and we'll circle back in a year's time.
Awesome. Thanks, Jimmy.
Thanks, Jon.